No, I think we started.
Okay, let's go.
I need to stop burping into the mic. It's going to be very difficult. I'm on beer, so...
Should we wait for James to get drunk first, or should we just start?
Just start. I'll catch up.
No, drink down that and then drink. Start.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
James is a pussy. James is a... No, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
James. No, you didn't have to do it. I was just joking. Oh my god, mate.
I'm James.
Okay, James is downing a bottle of beer right now.
I smile.
And
Yeah.
I'm a little bit aroused, but don't record this.
I think it's recording.
You called me a pussy. I had to do it.
I don't know if it's recording or not, though.
I apologise.
Oh, I need a wee already.
Are we going?
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Yes, we
bloody
are.
hell.
Hello.
Should we
welcome
go?
to No, I'm joking.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live from 45. You, me, Chris Curry, and to the left of me is James.
That's me, James
and
Robertson.
Ricky Bahia.
Hello.
And today we're actually mixing it up a little bit.
We are.
Like
Like a good cocktail.
So
In case
here's the twist. We're all a little bit drunk, and we actually planned this as well.
He did a twisty.
In case you're worried that alcohol made Ricky normal, it doesn't.
By
It
the
makes
way,
him
the name of the
worse.
podcast is probably like the Drunken podcast. So saying that information is largely redundant.
Yeah. No, we're gonna call this religion.
But that's if we can spell Drunken podcast by the time we're done.
Religion and chemistry.
They go hand in hand, people. They go hand in hand.
So yeah, glad to have you with us.
We
Today
are.
we're talking about, well, trends of 2017.
17, yeah.
Hello, Las Vegas. This is my friend Madam Cruz Calderon, and she's about to take 21 shots in 21 seconds. Yep, you heard it. It's a world record over here. Shit's about to get cray-cray. Ready, Madam Cruz?
So before we start, guys, actually, can I tell you something weird that happened to me yesterday?
Rude.
So for the listeners, I'm in a
Okay.
band called Flaneur. I hope you guys don't mind me shouting out.
We're going to get sued again.
By
Sorry, what does it mean?
I think it's some kind of like French nobleman, but that might be wrong. I don't really know.
Okay.
Anyway, I
Flaneur.
joined them after they named it. I think it's a cool name. But we were in the studio yesterday. Yeah, I'm just throwing out all these things right now.
Yeah. Just
So we were in the
cool.
studio yesterday and I was playing bass guitar. And anyway, I was leaving and I got in an Uber. And on the way home, in the Uber, a car pulled out in front of the Uber I was in. And it was obviously the other guy's fault, the guy who pulled out in front of us. And the Uber driver sat next to me and went, "Oh, what the fuck? Fucking black drivers."
Oh,
And I was like, shit, yeah.
What did you say?
Well, because we had been talking up to that point and he seemed completely normal and we didn't even see the driver of the car. So it was just
shit.
like, whoa.
maybe he's just colourblind.
Maybe, yeah.
And
He
also,
doesn't see race.
Yeah, everyone's black to him.
also, if you're at home, guys, maybe you should play some drinking games as well to drink along with us. So every time we mention Uber, that might be a good one to drink because it's probably going to be mentioned a lot in the next. Well, I mean, Ricky mentioned it at least 6 times already.
Yeah. I said the word too many times.
So that means they have to now down their drink
Yeah.
6
Yeah,
times.
that's how it works. And we're probably going to get sued by Uber. So
Every
it's
time I say something racist, I think they should drink as well.
Yeah.
Fuck, they will be blind drunk by the
Yeah.
end of it.
How about every time we don't say something racist?
We're drinking a lot less.
But it was so weird. I was talking to the guy.
So what did you do afterwards? Sorry, like
Well,
after
he
this kind
said
of thing
it as
happened?
though, you know, when someone says something and they expect you to agree. I just
Oh,
I just
no.
went silent because even if I said yeah, that's me agreeing with what he's saying. So I just went completely silent.
Well,
What did he do? Did he go,
And it's-
why did you not agree with me?
No, I just opened the door, ducked and rolled, and drive.
well, I've had a few times actually talking to Uber drivers, and they kind of raise a point where I have to kind of just sit there silently. I think I asked a guy about Brexit came up when I was getting taxis a lot.
Yeah.
And I think, in fact, it was the election. It was Jeremy Corbyn. And this
Jezza.
guy was like, yeah, do you know what? Actually, I really believe in Jeremy Corbyn. I think that's a really good thing, but we just need to get rid of all the foreigners.
Wow.
And I was just sat there like, this is fucking awkward.
Yeah.
Also because you're definitely like foreign yourself. I was like,
Yeah.
because like he kind of raised the point. And I was like, but where are you from?
Yeah.
And
And
then
it's
he
like,
goes the UK, and then does that make you racist?
No, he said, well, he was like, originally I'm from China. He's like, originally I'm from like the Middle East. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I was like, so why do you think they need to get rid of foreigners? Well, I've been here for like 10 years, so I deserve to be here, but you shouldn't let more people in. I was like, it's really... So yeah, I just sat there twiddling my thumbs for a bit.
So
and
honestly, though, with what he's saying, it's contextual, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's saying, I'm not against people's skin color. I'm not against where they're from. But contextually, in the time we're in right now, more foreign people might be detrimental to our country. I don't agree with that, but that's what he's saying. So was he racist? I don't know.
Well, it's the matter of generalization, isn't it?
Because he wasn't discriminating based on race. It was more just people in general
just
coming
people
to
who don't
affect
have
the
a British
economy.
passport.
Yeah.
That's what
But
I'm
what do
saying.
you, it depends what you define as foreign. Do you define like an American as a foreigner, or do you define?
Well, that's a very, very good point. Because I
Isn't
imagine
it anyone who's not from the native country they were born?
Yeah, but that's what James is saying. Is in he
That's
probably,
how
if
we
it
would
was
do
an
it.
American person, he probably wouldn't call them a foreigner. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's always difficult when it comes to those things. It's just like when I get in a taxi and someone asks me where I'm from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've mentioned.
What do you say?
I was going, I am from China. So that's not even a Chinese accent. It really throws it off, you know. So for all the listeners, you need to drink.
No. I have come to take your job. And then you try and forcefully push him out of the car.
Fairness, though, dude, with the government who says all these foreigners coming over, taking all the good jobs and taking all the money, why would foreign people not come here? I'll come and take all the good jobs and all the good money.
Like, just one foreign person, take them all.
They're literally sat at home just like, excellent.
Excellent. That's how country.
But you know, this is actually a really interesting thing. You know, when like the EU ruled that Romania was going to join and get like the free freedom of movement.
Yeah.
So everyone was like, "Oh, the Romanians, they're like they're thieves, they're criminals. They're all going to come over and they're going to rape everyone. It's going to be horrible." Kind of like how people treat Muslims in America.
Yeah.
Oh god.
And this was like obviously.
I feel like you're gonna go, and they came over and raped everyone, and it was actually all right.
Kind of, yeah. We're having a good time. So like it was about 5 years ago. So they went like the BBC or like some sort of like news program went to the airport. I did really well there. Went to the airport, and they just went, okay, this is the first flight in from Romania. They're all gonna come off.
Yeah.
Dave, get a good shot of them all coming through.
The first thing that happens is cabin man gets raped.
Come on with their pitchforks and their knives and
First
their
day of the
dicks.
job.
Get a good pic, Dave. I want to see it. If you get raped, I'm sorry, it's part of the job. Dental is included, so you know. And all that happened is just one guy got off the plane and was just like, hello. And they were like, okay, so where are you from? He's like, I'm from Romania. They're like, okay, well, like, but what are you doing? It's like, I'm here to like see if I can find like a nice like plumbing job or whatever. They're like, okay. So what'd you do back in like Romania? He's like, oh, actually, like, I kind of did a bit of engineering and these kind of thing, but I'm going to have to do this here. I can live with that. I need to make money to send back to my family.
Yeah.
And then, because obviously that's boring, and that's not what the like media wants to spread about it, they then found out that he had a criminal record to just push that all out.
Oh, obviously.
What was his criminal offence?
I think it was domestic abuse, which obviously is a serious thing, but it's the fact that you've gone
like you should never abuse your house, you know what I mean? Like you got to keep it clean, you know, keep it tidy.
Clean, not mean.
Don't abuse it, you know. That's what I think about it.
But this is the problem that we have now with like all these kind of, everyone has an agenda that they want to push in the media. Speaking of Uber, actually,
well, that's the thing. The media is a place for creating stories, isn't it?
Yep.
So as you're about to say, speaking of Uber, I assume you're about to bring up the London situation.
I was.
And I've seen a lot on the media about the reason that Uber is being removed is because of safety issues with their drivers, right? So it was to do with people getting an Ubers and it not being safe for them. So it wasn't the drivers being unsafe, it was the passengers.
Sorry, is this Uber being banned from London?
London, yeah.
About?
Well, not banned, the license not being renewed.
So it's not being renewed, so they haven't been actually banned.
It's not a banning. Yeah.
So they can still appeal it, and while they're appealing it, until that goes through the courts, they can still actively go about in London.
Yeah. So the issue with that statement of saying it's due to safety for passengers doesn't make any sense because
That's so strange.
Yeah, 'cause
I
in
thought it'd be the
Uber-
other way around.
in Uber you have the details of the person who's giving you a lift.
Yeah.
So you already know who is taking you somewhere.
Like in the app, you have pictures of their family members.
Yeah, your family
their
members,
address,
their home address, their bank
postcode,
account details. Yeah.
And yeah.
Exactly. And
Star
like,
sign, the most
mother's
important
maiden
part.
name, sort code, account number. You know.
So how is it detrimental to the passenger?
I don't believe it's anything to do with that, man. I think
What
that's
do
an
you think it
excuse.
is?
I think it's to do with so there's arguments about they are running money away from the black cab drivers, and that's true, but that's not a reason to take a license away from someone or not allow them to renew their license as a company, because that's business, isn't it? You know,
absolutely.
if a better business comes along and starts to beat you,
Survival of the
it's
fittest.
survival of the fittest. Exactly. This is what Darwin was talking about. He's saying he actually said in one of his main papers, Ubers versus black cabs was the name of the paper.
Or as he called it, evolution.
As he called it, evolution.
Or Uberlution.
Uberlution.
Evolution.
Yeah.
Actually, there's more like to this story. I think I get that point. I think it is very interesting, and that's what people have said. Black cabs, that's kind of why they've drove them out. But actually, Uber in America isn't everywhere. It's banned in a lot of states.
How come?
So you have to use other apps such as
Romanian drivers racing.
Yeah. I just come to Plum.
Well, there goes all of our Romanian listeners.
And there goes
Or one of that guy is on the plane.
maybe we should stop so that our listeners can get new drinks because they're gonna have to go to the shop to get more booze. So anyway, you're not allowed to. Uber's barred in a lot of states in America, and it's because it is these safety issues. It's to do with the fact that I think it's that there's a lot of crime with like Uber. It's not actually as
don't know.
it's not as regulated as you think it is, because you have to have as like a black. So in the UK, you have to have as a black cab driver, you have to have a specific license that you can only get in that town or city that you kind of drive in. So a Mancunian driver can only get a license for Manchester.
Whereas
Uber, they find a way around it. Whereas if you like get a license in Manchester, you could also drive your Uber down to London and work there. I've had to look quite a few Uber drivers actually.
But that still doesn't make sense though,
Yeah,
because you
there's
still
still
have the details
something.
of the person who's
So-
driven you.
Yeah, but
I
that's-
think
that-
there's
but that-
more to it than that, and that's almost
their
used as a
name, their full
scapegoat.
name.
Yeah,
for
but that doesn't mean anything. You've got their name.
You have their license plate.
Yeah, but that's not going to stop them doing anything. Necessarily.
Yeah, it is. You
got-
tell the
Yeah,
police this is
absolutely.
their license plate.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
imagine
Name.
this. Imagine you're about to go and rob a bank.
Yeah.
But everyone in that bank has your home address.
Well, then why-
and your picture of your
Yeah.
face.
Okay. You say this, but then why are there still Uber drivers that rape women? Would you not say that's like a
No, but that,
I think
yeah,
that might
but they
be
get- I'm
isolated
sure they get
cases.
caught
No,
as
there is.
well.
There is. I'm just
like a majority?
saying. I'm giving another perspective.
But like, is it possible that it could be due to something else,
like such as what?
something deeper, as in money?
Well,
I mean,
well, yeah, like I think it's more to do with money, because a black cab driver is just as plausible of raping and hurting someone.
Yeah, no. There
as an
are
Uber driver is.
unlicensed black cabs. I'm just saying that there is like a big issue because there is a big thing in America, and apparently it's not necessarily to do with the drivers. You've got the driver's details, yes, but it's the way Uber run the company as a whole. I think as well, it's the way that they treat the drivers and they treat the customers. They can kind of, because they're a relatively new company, they've found loopholes around certain things that the TfL, Travel for London, don't like, which is understandable. And to be fair, Travel for London have gone, look, we like Uber, which isn't necessarily true. They probably do want to give more money back to the black cabs because they'll be complaining. They are London drivers and they're kind of quite big for tourism. But they are going, look, we like them, be better and we'll let you back in, kind of thing. And Uber have gone, look, we have made mistakes in the past. Let's try and help us out. I'm just saying there is a lot to this story rather than just black and white.
Okay, James, you win. You broke me down.
Thank
And
you.
Uber are the fucking worst. Okay, they should never ever be back in London again. I don't know if you guys knew this. I did an AS in drama theatre. If anyone's looking for an actor,
Well, now I'm pissed off. I thought I won. I'm fucking well angry.
No, you do. No, I 100% agree with you, man. I was just being.
This is something that me and Ricky do when we like to get drunk. We like to kind of argue with each other. Well,
no,
like,
it's not
we like
argument.
to raise points.
You say good points, and then I just say the opposite.
Playing the devil's advocate, but being a wanker is
Yeah.
basically what you do.
So something we agreed on. Was it yesterday?
I think
when
so.
we said we're gonna do the Drunken podcast. Was we're not gonna do that whole thing where people get drunk and then they go, let's play up to being drunk. We were just like, let's just get drunk and then see what happens. And this
all we
is
did is
always what
argue for an
happens.
hour.
Yeah. This is always what happens.
Yeah, me and Ricky are semi-naked right now, about to fight each other. That's how it's where we are. I bet you
It's
wish
just a normal Saturday for me.
people at home are wishing we had a video feed right now. Okay, so we've talked about Uber. You fucking interrupted, you bastards. So let's talk about trends. Let's talk about some shit, Chris.
So obviously a big trend is my boy Jim Carrey at the moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Really recently is a
Okay.
huge trend. I don't know if you guys have seen the infamous interview with Jim Carrey at New York Fashion Week.
I'm aware of it.
please.
I've
Have
seen
you
a little
not?
bit. Seen a little
Okay,
bit.
so it's very Jim Carrey himself is an abstract character, and we all know this from his famous films.
Such as
But what you don't expect is when you step away from the camera being on you to
sorry.
I was miles behind in the conversation.
the Truman Show.
Which is he? What's Jim Carrey been?
What has he been?
I think he played a tree in the
Ace
Hunger Games.
Ventura, Ricky Bahia Detective.
I think he was Wilson at Castaway.
Yeah.
He definitely did that.
If you know him in his famous film The Hulk.
He plays a car.
Obviously, he played a rock.
No, The Titanic.
He played the iceberg. Okay, sorry.
Okay, yeah. So there's a reporter asking him questions, and he's coming up with these really obscure, ambiguous answers that don't really mean anything. Okay. So one of the quotes from the interview is, when asked what's happening in the world, Jim Carrey, he said, there's just things happening, and there are clusters of tetrahedrons moving around. What the hell does that mean?
Well, first of all, Jim, that's incorrect. That's not just drunk Ricky
I want the
talking.
T-shirt
Yeah.
to wear.
Like there's
We're all
other
just
shapes.
tetrahedrons.
Yeah.
We're not. That's fucking bullshit.
It sounds like Are We Human, Are We Dancer?
Yeah.
Like a really shit
And,
song.
you know, like, honestly, that is a really good song to, let's say, relate to the situation because it kind of speaks to it so much. In another interview, this is exactly what he said. He said, there is no me, no self. Jim Carrey is gone, actually never existed.
Yeah.
And I know that now, so I'm able to take a gigantic chance with this thing that people know as Jim Carrey.
Okay, so I thought you were going to say take a gigantic shit on Jim Carrey. That's pretty fucking...
No, because Jim Carrey never existed, so he can't shit on it.
In my understanding of it, he believes that through the things that have happened in his life recently, which have been incredibly traumatic, he's been through hell and back.
Yeah.
And through doing that, he has forgotten himself, but almost found himself at the same time. And he is a new person who has left Jim Carrey behind.
That's true in itself. I'm sure if any of our listeners think about who they were 10 years ago, they're not that person anymore. So you might still have the same name. You might still be Jeromingson.
You might used to have been a man,
You
but
might
you're now
have,
a
yeah.
woman.
Well,
mean,
actually,
Ricky,
someone
you
at
used
work
to be
the
a
other day
child.
said to me, someone at work said to me the other day, Ricky, let's be honest, you're a very attractive man. And I said, well, think about how hot I was when I was a woman.
I mean, also the fact that Ricky 10
Rachel
years...
Bahia.
Weird! Why did you have to go weird?
James's
Why's that
girlfriend's
weird?
called Rachel
James?
Bahia.
Wait a minute. Ricky
Hold
without
on
a
a
beard? Not again.
Rachel with the beard.
Yes. So go back to Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
That's also interesting, the fact that maybe he's also saying that when he came, because he was quite young when he kind of came into prominence, that he was never really himself.
12
he was
years
just
old.
always that's when he became famous. That was when he was just always portraying this character of Jim Carrey, not the actual Jim Carrey.
Yeah, but I guess that really does happen because, say, for instance, in my field, I have to do a lot of lectures. And
Why are you doing lectures in fields?
I'm a scout leader.
Okay.
No, but as
They let you work with children. Jesus Christ.
well, legally I'm not supposed to. But I get the
You're not meant to drive
that
that Uber either, but
Romanian
you
guy
still
to
do
do
it,
it.
don't you?
You know, the Uber driver is Romanian. He's really good at it. No one really speaks after he's there, though.
As long as they're not black, they're fine.
But yeah, so there's a lot of speeches you have to give, a lot of talks, and you're not you. You are a character of you who gives a talk.
So that's what he's trying to portray in that.
Well, I think also is so Leonardo DiCaprio talked about this, and I know Jim Carrey and Leonardo do very different films, but they both do a lot of method acting. And when you do method acting, you become the character who you are trying to do in the film. So, for instance, Revenant was a film where Leonardo was a guy who lived in a forest, and he gave handjobs to Inuit women. And
That is
I've not
actually
seen
part of
the
the film.
I've
No,
not
that's
seen
legit
it.
part of the film that happens.
I've
But it's a really beautifully shot.
Yeah. Do you sound like a man trying to shoot a porno right now? you're like, no, it's all gonna be beautiful. Don't worry. Don't
really
worry.
tasteful.
Yeah.
Don't worry
It's
about
real
it, Ricky.
tasteful, it's real
Just take your clothes off.
Yeah.
It'll be over quickly.
Don't worry about the other 50 guys sat
Yeah.
behind me. It's gonna be real
They
tasteful.
are fine.
next.
So Tom Hardy's going to be watching, so it's fine. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, no, he becomes the character. So I know he went into the forest and he lived there by himself for a long time, did hunter gathering. And what Jim said was, I know him by Jim. We're close.
Best mate.
Jim.
Is that it's difficult when you stop playing that role because you became that person. So who are you anymore? Who's Jim Carrey? Is Jim Carrey the character?
Wow, so
or
he's-
is the person he's being?
So it's actually when he's talking about playing Andy Kaufman.
Yes,
Yeah.
Andy Kaufman.
So there's actually a new special coming on Netflix, or maybe on Netflix already, where Jim Carrey plays Andy Kaufman, who's a famous comedian who died. And the film's called Man on the Moon. Incredible film. Watch it if you haven't seen it. The song by R.E.M. is for the film. And it's just basically Andy Kaufman was a chaos comic, which you could also say is similar to Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey felt a lot of similarities between himself and Andy Kaufman. And when they filmed like behind the scenes like things, and Universal, the company, didn't want to release the footage because they thought that people would think Jim Carrey was an asshole.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Why?
because of the way he comes, because he was so method, he never stopped being Andy Kaufman.
He was so method. Is that like
yeah.
It's
you know,
like
a
when you
metaphor
really
for something else?
Yeah.
He was on meth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's like when you're really hipster.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
right.
method.
So method.
Oh god, I'm so meth right now.
Yeah, so mad. My flannel shirt is so flannel. I'm on there.
Yeah, he goes really method. And he just didn't
Like
come out of
Method
character.
Man
Like
from the
Method
Wu-Tang
Man.
Clan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
became black and a really good rapper. Big up Wu-Tang. And he just basically did things that he thought Andy Kaufman would do. And when they went Jim, they couldn't refer to him as Jim Carrey. They had to refer to him as Andy.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot with method acting.
So I don't know if you knew this actually. So a big problem with method acting, and one of the biggest cases, you probably read about it, was the little old man from Up. So he actually became a cartoon character who had to make a house and attach balloons to it.
I heard that.
He watched
yeah.
his wife die. Spoilers.
Yeah, but she didn't want it. He killed her.
Yeah.
He killed her, but he was a method actor, so he had to do it. In order
And
to
he
feel
adopted
it.
a little Chinese fat kid.
He did.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
don't know if the kid was Chinese.
I
Oh,
actually
fat.
heard that he played both the Chinese fat kid and the old man at
Yeah,
the
it
same
was
time.
really weird.
Yeah, he put on a lot.
This
of
isn't
weight.
in the cartoon, by the way. This is in real
life.
life.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Just to get
And
into the role.
It's really sad because people don't know this, but 6,000 people were killed in the making of Up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
Who do you think put the balloons on the fucking house, man?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Each balloon represents a life.
Yeah.
10 million.
That was the amount it cost to make.
Yeah.
But like,
So sorry.
Ooh, we
to,
all went in there.
to go back to my to go back to Jim Carrey in the terms of
yeah.
like this interview, which is so abstract and absurd.
Yeah.
Now there are two types of people. There's one side of the argument that believe that Jim Carrey is having a mental breakdown and this is due to mental illness, but there are other sides of the argument that believe that he is enlightened and above all of this. These interviews, the whole show, the whole events, everything.
So who's to say that enlightenment isn't a form of mental illness?
That's a very good point.
Wow.
Is it not a form of
Yeah.
arrogance as well to think you're enlightened?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I guess he doesn't think he's enlightened. People say he is enlightened. He doesn't view himself as enlightened. He isn't Jim Carrey anymore. That's the way he sees it. He
But isn't
says
that
it without
enlightenment
help.
in itself? Being able to disassociate oneself from their human body, to
Not-
think, because there have been times where I've thought. So, for instance, I listened to the Red Hot Chili Peppers a lot, as you guys know, and John Frusciante was their old guitarist, and he discussed the point of music not being a creation from humans themselves, but being a reaction to the environment humans have been in, and therefore it always existing.
Okay.
So you are just a vessel to deliver that music to people, which in myself, I think a lot of that makes sense. So if I write lyrics to a song, it's through what I've felt,
Experienced.
and what I've experienced. But at the same time, I don't think me hitting a table is music. I think music is when it hits your ears and you develop that into a
Yeah, so
sound.
for me that sounds like a very interesting point, but pretentious in its
No,
execution.
very much. It's very
Yeah, yeah,
pretentious.
yeah.
But I think sound and music are different things.
Yeah.
So I think when I listen to System of a Down, I hear beauty. I hear a lot of powerful lyrics. But you guys might hear this just sounds like noise.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that therefore it is music because we have a different opinion on it. Whereas if we both hear a drill outside, it's just a drill outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind
So
of personal.
in that view, I think what he's saying isn't correct because a human has to create it, therefore to make it music. But I was thinking about scientific equations.
Okay.
And-
Okay.
Say Sir Isaac Newton came up with the equation that derived what gravity does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that he made that equation because gravity's always going to do what it does. So although he was just a vessel to write down what it means,
Yeah.
it didn't change the meaning.
Okay.
It was always what it's going to be. So from what Jim
yeah.
Carrey's saying, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he's saying that it doesn't matter what we do, everything's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
going to be what
yeah.
it is.
It's also kind of like a I'm trying to think of the way to say it. It's like a dime shop philosophy, if that makes sense, like an American term, but like it's just kind of like really cheap philosophy. It's not really necessarily that deep. There's not necessarily that much to it.
But I
It's
don't
just-
think he
It's
intended it to
pseudo-philosophy.
be.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I
yeah.
don't think he intended it to be deep at all. I think it was just him portraying it.
See,
Like as in that situation, it didn't
Yeah.
have to go into. It was like the context of where he was in the interview.
this is something else about Jim Carrey
Yeah.
that people don't necessarily, like I said before, in portraying Andy Kaufman, it was a chaos comic. That is what Jim Carrey does, is he likes to feed off like energy, bad energy or like good energy, in the sense that he had an interview recently on David Letterman, on James Corden's show, where all the comedians spoke about times that they've dealt with bad crowds.
Yeah.
And Jim Carrey once said he recently walked into the Comedy Cellar in New York and they had a really good crowd, and he just strolled in and pissed them off, and he did everything he could to anger them. He just wanted to feel the hatred.
Yeah.
And James Corden goes, why did you do that? He went, because sometimes having the whole crowd against you is so much more fulfilling than having them with you.
That seems very self-centered, though. To go to like a to have a show and it's about you going to entertain people, and then all you do is piss them off.
But isn't there something self-centered in the fact that your job is going up in front of a crowd and entertaining them?
But not in a bad way. If you're going up to add value to their life, if that value is comedy,
But
then
isn't-
surely that's fine.
But isn't that arrogant to think that your job is you're going to go up and add value to
But if
people's
you
lives?
generally do that and you generally create that experience for people, then why is that bad?
But also, the Comedy Cellar stuff, he wasn't paid for that. He just showed up and just did it because he
Really? So he
Yeah,
just
yeah.
showed up to piss people
No,
off?
so this is a
yeah.
very
Okay, that's
good
bad.
point.
Yeah.
So he would go up and he'd bump other comedians off stage.
No, okay,
So
that's
they were
bad.
supposed to come up and Jim
Yeah.
Carrey would come and
Yeah.
he would just take their
Well,
spot.
No, that's
Yeah.
sometimes.
So he did it to Bobby Lee. He did it to a lot of other comedians. I just know Bobby Lee because he says it on his
and
podcast.
then gave them
Tiger
that
Belly, listen to
experience.
it.
Imagine if you just came to see Bobby Lee, and then
Well,
instead you had Jim Carrey
exactly.
pissing you
The
off.
thing.
Yeah, well, he doesn't piss you off. No, but he went up and he went, "Look, I'm Chinese too." Bobby Lee's not, he's Korean. So.
The thing,
So it wasn't me being racist. You don't have to drink. That was
It
Jim
was Jim
Carrey.
Carrey.
being
Yeah.
the thing with the Comedy Cellar as well, though, is that it's you never know who you're going to get necessarily. People will just show up and appear. But the Jim Carrey pissing people off, that actually in itself is going to give him more publicity because people are going to go, I went to this Jim Carrey show and all he did was piss people off, and that kind of people like to be annoyed. We do. It's
I know.
it's
I mean,
nature.
that's one of the key philosophies in Live and 45's marketing
Yeah.
strategy.
Annoy your audience.
Yes, everyone.
People like to be annoyed.
Yeah.
The
That's
end.
it.
This is what I meant before when I said that he did this thing to annoy people, is that people are saying that he's doing all these things to see him and light and do this, but like he just wants to annoy people sometimes. He
So
wants
do
to
you
feel-
think that what he's doing at the moment is just to spark a reaction?
I'm not sure. I think it partly is down to
He's had a
a
trauma.
mental break.
Yeah, yeah.
A mental break in a sense because
That's
of because we actually haven't spoken about the context. If Chris, do you want to explain the context?
So it's quite
of what's
dark. It
happened?
is quite dark, but yeah, Chris, you should
Yeah,
explain
so
it for the
no, like
listeners.
it's always important to account like what goes on outside of people's lives, and no one can truly empathize with anyone because everyone's experience is different.
And
in the world.
we have to say,
However, there are very incredible, like dark things going on in Jim Carrey's life at the moment. We're
and
ex-
we have to say, we don't know how he feels about it,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah.
how we would feel about it.
And we can only go
would
about
be
the
pretty
facts that are
negative.
presented in
I
front
mean,
of us.
Yeah.
the main example is his late wife, Catherine White, who recently committed suicide, and it's a very tragic thing. And
Oh, very much so.
she commits suicide by overdose, which, I mean, Jim Carrey's on trial for next year due to the fact that he could have potentially supplied her with these drugs that she used to overdose.
And we're not going to discuss that because we don't know enough about
Yeah,
it to
yeah.
discuss it.
So like this situation and this such like deep traumatic thing happening could cause to someone having a mental breakdown.
Exactly.
I mean, it
So-
probably has, but not that it necessarily is. It's so hard to tell.
I think we also should just, again, we don't know, like, everything, how he feels. We just know what's presented in front of us. Another thing is a suicide letter basically said that one of the reasons that she was feeling this way is because she was given STDs from Jim Carrey, which he denies.
Actually, that was
Is that not
that
actually
was
true?
almost 10 months ago.
Okay.
And then they got back together for 11 months, and after the like time now she did commit suicide through overdose. She actually had suicide letters written, but none of them mentioned Jim Carrey.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So it was
interesting.
like it was a previous thing that mentioned him
Yeah.
in suicide notes.
So
But
this is what's interesting. We don't know.
yeah,
I
it's
guess-
so hard to tell.
What you're trying to say then is Jim Carrey actually saying none of this matters, everything we do doesn't matter, we're just tetrahedrons flying through space, or is he trying to disassociate himself from the pain he's feeling?
Yeah.
Is he trying to say none of this matters, therefore what I feel doesn't matter anymore?
Yeah, perhaps, or he's just saying maybe not about the pain, but why am I stood here? Why are we stood here at this red carpet of this fashion gala when there's much bigger things happening?
Okay, so I'm going to say to that though, why would he turn up? Why would you even turn up to it? Because he turned up to that the fashion thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And he said, I wanted to go to something. This I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically a quote. He said, I wanted to turn up something that meant nothing.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
basically what he said. So why would you even go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it might be that he knew he was going to get interviewed and he could give this kind of like speech. And
But
maybe-
that's
this-
another point.
yeah,
If nothing
yeah,
matters,
yeah.
why even give a speech on
Yeah,
nothing
yeah, yeah.
mattering? You know.
But
what I
maybe
mean?
something does matter to him. Maybe these things do.
Well,
and it's-
exactly.
So you're saying
But he
that
doesn't
you
want
wanna
it to
feel the
appear
pain,
as though
yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
So maybe he believes it doesn't matter to him, but
Yeah.
deep down in his subconscious it does.
And I think something else we forget is that like we talk about all these people and these celebrities in such an abstract form, but they are just people. Like when we like we said, we can only go from how we feel about these subjects. And when you actually put it down to it, we put these people on such. I mean, Jim Carrey's been in the public eye for the past 20 plus years, and we just don't even really. We don't know him. We don't know what he's going through.
It's so hard to like even define, because imagine, say for example, the listeners at home, like
Yeah.
if you just imagine right now you are famous
Yeah.
and like you.
What did I do?
Yeah.
How did I get famous?
You were famous because you're in a big block book.
Block
Block book.
Yeah.
Block. Oh fucking hell! I'm drunk.
It's
Blockbuster.
You're in a
but
blockbuster.
Dude, say for instance,
Do I
like not to
strip?
be dark,
Yeah.
the listeners, probably the people who do listen, probably think they know us. And we are like how we sound on the podcast, but it's a character. We play characters.
Exactly. I was just about to say, when we're talking about Jim Carrey playing a character, we do play characters.
Yeah.
We act up to these things. We're not normally as aggressive as this.
Yeah, we're
but
definitely. we genuinely.
We're worse than this.
we will fight you. If you
I'm
torture us in the street, we will fight you.
Yeah. If I'm driving an Uber, don't get in.
Drive away.
Yeah.
So I will drive into a wall to fuck one of us. I don't care who it is. If it's me or you, but one of us is
I'm
going
a
down.
crazy motherfucker.
Named Ice Cube.
But as you said, you, as like Jim Carrey, as any celebrity, you have a pedestal that people hold you up on, and you have a platform that you can deliver your messages from.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a huge negative side because people want to also be on that platform, and they will do anything to be up there. And as someone, let's say I'm a famous producer, I might take advantage of that, knowing that you want to be there.
Oh, This feels slightly
and that seems like something that's becoming to light a lot now.
Some people are deluded though to fame and what they can achieve. As in, they're so deluded that's like the only goal they want. They forget that they need to do things to get there.
But I'm not talking about the delusion, Chris. I'm talking about the manipulating people because you believe that they will do
any side of it.
The example we're bringing up now is obviously Harvey Weinstein, who is currently on will be on trial for rape and assault and stuff. The thing that really kind of gets me down about this story is the fact that he's meant to have 50...
You didn't get away with it.
Yeah.
Because me and Chris want to give him blowjobs to do this podcast.
Sorry.
Listeners at home, they fucking did.
It was not to do with the podcast.
They didn't enjoy it.
Harvey Weinstein touches me, but no,
Let's just say I'm prone to a couple of massages every night. So basically...
Happy endings?
I'm happy at the end.
He's not.
You guys aren't. So basically, the whole thing with Harvey Weinstein, it's really... So 50 plus women have come out to say that he's been sexually assaulted, where he sexually assaulted them, not they sexually assaulted him, due to things such as he wanted them to massage him, to suck it, I guess, do things to him. But what gets me about this is the fact that when I've spoken to people about this, even you guys would go, well, actually, isn't that how Hollywood works?
Well, it wasn't necessarily that's how Hollywood works. James told me about this, and it was a lack of surprise from me. Because I wasn't surprised that someone would abuse their position to do something like that, you know? I just felt like that's probably been happening for years, and I was glad it finally came out, which sounds really wrong, but I'm glad that people now feel that they can discuss these things and not feel like it'll hold them back.
Because I can't believe this is a thing. I'm so naive to the whole thing, and I hadn't even thought that this was... I honestly couldn't have even predicted this. Yeah. Literally nothing at all.
Well, see, this thing like Ricky said, when you have these people that are in a position of power that they
abuse it.
Yeah, of course they do. And I mean, absolute power absolutely corrupts, is the old saying. Yeah. And people on
great power, James,
comes great responsibility and spider powers. So the thing that people have said on Facebook and comments I've read on these posts is that, what do you expect? All it is women trying to get ahead in their job and then complaining when somebody does something to them. There's some things I've actually heard,
that's horrible,
and it is horrible because that's not how it works at all. It's really ridiculous to think that just because you go for an interview, so imagine you went for an interview, Chris, for a job. And the person who was interviewing you said, okay, well, actually, this is an interesting interview. Let's go for a meal afterwards. And you're like, oh, actually, I don't feel comfortable.
Well, you know what? Let's actually do this, Chris.
I think I'd be the one to suggest.
Chris, let's say, okay, so you come into my interview, right? And what's he looking for, James? What job's he looking for?
He wants to be a blossoming starlet with. He's got great legs and a great ass.
Singer songwriter?
Yeah. Oh no, starlet.
Singer artist. I don't know.
So he's just.
Can I be the
Hulk? A star.
Okay, you want to be a star? Okay.
Can I be the Hulk?
So Chris, you come into my office. I'm a really famous producer.
Okay.
I'm called Bobby Brown.
Hey.
And you come into my office. Hey, I'm Bobby Brown. So what you looking for, little darling? You want a job with my company?
I don't know. I'm looking for a job and a little bit of fun.
You got nice titties on you, babe. I mean, you sound like a nice lady. And I've looked at your CV. It says you worked at McDonald's for 10 years.
Yeah, you know what? I could be a lady, yeah. Let's go.
That's all I need to hear.
I'll do whatever you want, sweetheart.
So I invite you out for a meal. Then you want to come out to Pizza Hut? Got 2-for-1 tickets to the Odeon afterwards.
So listeners,
yeah, let's go, Bobby.
Listeners, should Chris go out for a meal with Bobby
That's
Brown?
a good question.
Or should he go home and not?
But I'd actually get a promotion if I go.
You get the job. You'll be a star.
Yeah, you'll get. No, well, I assume that's the assumption, or am I saying to them?
There's the assumption.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not actually guaranteed.
Well, we don't know. They might lie.
I think I pay a little
They might
bit harder
lie.
to
Bobby
get.
might say to you, "Oh, you'll get the job. You give me a handy in the bathroom."
Yeah.
You know, we don't know that.
Oh, I mean, Bobby might ask you such questions as,
Does it matter if I cry?
"Oh yeah,
Well,
no,
dude.
that's
Bobby loves it when you cry.
Bobby might ask you, are you good with tools? Are you handy?" And he doesn't mean with tools.
He means as in, well,
Next
give
thing
him
you
a
know,
fuck.
I'm putting up shelves in Hollywood.
And you're like, "Can I just give you a hand job, Bobby?" He's like,
come
"I'm
on,
married. How
please."
dare you? How dare you?
I
Put
just
this
need
desk
some
up
new
for me.
shelves. I want a chest of wardrobe.
It says on your CV you did 3 years of woodwork at school, girl. What you doing to me here?
You didn't lie about that, did you?
Yeah, my wife's in the next room. She is. You're saying these things. I know I'm a sexy old man, but
Okay, Bobby.
But yeah, this kind of things that Weinstein was saying to people.
Whoa.
actually, Weinstein gave that exact example.
Yeah.
It's been recorded.
That was actually quoted.
Yeah. That was a reenactment. That was beautiful.
No, I don't think they written. No, it was on. That was a tape we were playing.
Like, I mean, yeah, Harvey Weinstein likes to be called Bobby. That's what he does.
So what are going to be the repercussions of all this? What's
Well,
like going to happen in the overall?
So actually, this is the thing. Like, there's been rumors of these things happening in Hollywood for a long, long time. Like I said, people say if you're going to be a star, you've got to give a little bit of sucky every now and then. What? It's true. And that's what the assumption is. But it's horrible that is a thing. But also, there's been people such as Corey Feldman, who was like abused says he was abused when he was a child, but no one believed him. He's tried to come out and kind of go, well, surely now is the time that we go back into this and start to look into these things. So, on your question of what will happen, people were like, well, surely what's going to happen is he gets like sacked from his company, nothing really big happens, because it's not just him. He's not the only producer. Other people higher up or even bigger could be implicated. So they're going to throw him under the fucking bus.
So the way it works
They're
essentially is a pyramid scheme, Chris.
Yeah. So the higher you
So
are,
say
you
there's
are-
8 people on the bottom
Yeah.
and there's 4 people on top. Then those 8 people give blowjobs to the 4 people on top. So that's 2 blowjobs each. And there's 2 people on top of that, so they get 2 blowjobs each. And there's 1 person on top of that, and then he gets 2 blowjobs.
Does he not get all the blowjobs, or just the blowjob from the
No,
people
it works
underneath
up the fucking.
I mean, if you
Well,
guys
you don't know how a pyramid scheme works.
If you don't
Chris.
understand this, Chris, maybe you understand it in the sense that he's going to mean girl the fuck. They're going to mean
Yeah.
girls the fuck out of her and push Regina into that fucking bus.
Exactly. That's economics
Yeah.
101.
That's
Don't you?
how
Yeah,
it works.
you don't even know economics 101. That's the first thing.
Oh, he knows. He knows.
Yeah, I know,
He's
I
been
know.
to the lecture.
We've got his credentials right here. But like, so yeah, they're going to throw him into the bus and like basically push all the blame on him. But what actually is going to happen? He's been investigated by the London and the New LA police, which is something that surprised a lot of people because they thought it would just be the case of he gets like
A little
kind
slap
of-
on the wrist, a little
Yeah.
slap on the cheek. bum
yeah, a little
cheek.
slap on the ass. But like literally that's it. He'd get a slap on the wrist. He'd kind of take what normally happens with these kind of cases in Hollywood is that the person steps down, I'm using inverted commas here, and they take on another role and they still get paid for it.
Janitor.
They're not in the public eye anymore. Whereas this has been a very public one. And actually Harvey Weinstein has said,
It's a better way of
because
saying
he's actually in rehab right now, in sex rehab, saying that he's just a sex addict. That's
Okay,
all it
let's
is.
say, let's say
He's just addicted to
that's
sex.
a
Okay.
big thing, though. If you're, does that rule you out? Being a sex addict is a real thing.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like, if you are a sex addict, does that give you the let off?
No, of course not.
No, not for rape, obviously.
Well, not even for like the kind of abuse that he was doing. The other thing is that he didn't.
Is being a sex addict a mental thing though? or is it like?
Yeah, no, it's very mental.
So-
It's-
Well, it's an addiction,
yeah,
isn't it?
it's an
If
addiction.
someone had like a mental disability, or
Dude,
like,
we're talking about like wanking off 16 times a day.
fucking hell.
But
Yeah.
even then, so actually, this is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
And there was a guy across the road from my work the other day, and there was a whole
Oh,
queue
yeah.
of 16-year-old girls stood outside. And
Sorry,
the
can I
guy-
just interrupt? Listeners, when I said, oh yeah, that was not a sexual.
Yeah, he just knows what I'm
yeah.
going to say.
That was just because I know the story.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all.
I don't know. Like, I think if you put your shirt back on,
We'll be
Dude,
more likely to believe you, bare chest
yeah.
here.
Can I just point out, I'm not a sex addict. I've only done it 15 times.
Oh, he's fine.
So no, James, yeah, you're at work
Yeah,
the
so
other day.
the 16-year-old girls, like a lot of them outside work, and this guy was stood across the road, and he started masturbating.
what?
Yeah, in front of like people, and the police
Why?
woman came in to get. Well, this is the thing. Police woman came in to get statements from people, and nobody had seen him actually take his penis out, so they couldn't like kind of take him away. But
Yeah,
what
but
they
I
could
don't need
do-
to take mine out. to do
Maybe
it,
he'd
so-
just gone to the gym and he had a protein shake,
He was just-
and he was just shaking it up.
Or he just wanted to get like more muscle, shake weight, you know.
Yeah.
And but what actually happened was he was masturbating,
Oh,
and they said he's not allowed in town anymore. But if we can't like basically prove that we've seen his penis, he's not going to get arrested.
yeah.
And I was like, well, actually, I heard that he had like mental health issues.
Yeah,
Is this
yeah,
true?
yeah.
And she said, yeah, but that doesn't excuse him. I was
Wow.
like, of course it doesn't.
Okay.
Oh.
Wait, who said that? A police
The
officer?
police officer, yeah.
Wow, I did not know that, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
She, community support. I was still the police
I guess
officer.
to a certain extent, you can't just accuse straight up crimes because of mental
Yeah.
health. Like because anyone could just go mental health.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's more
Yeah,
the
but
point
There
if
has to
you're
be some
rehab-
sort of deeper
If you're in
underlining.
rehab for sexual rehabilitation,
Yeah.
not really, that's the different thing altogether. But because you are a sex addict,
Yeah.
surely that's evidence enough that you've gone into rehab for it.
not in
Not
Hollywood.
necessarily.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
you can pay to be in rehab. And
Yeah, it is. I mean, you kind of. Sorry, there's the incredible Simpsons skit where they go to the Betty Ford. They go to a play about the Betty Ford Clinic, which is a famous clinic like back in the day, and it's just basically about having a free pass just to do all the drugs and chat to people that you want to.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is like so. It is important that he's. See, this is the problem. He's saying he's admitting his problem, that he's a sex addict, and that's not his problem. He's an abusive person. He's an abuser. That's what he is. He's a predator.
yeah.
Simply
And he
put.
uses these things as scapegoats.
Yeah,
to-
of course, because
yeah.
he's not going to admit to these problems because he's got like you wouldn't even if you were caught doing it, you're still not going to admit to it because he wants to prove his innocence, but he's not innocent. He is just a bad person. In my opinion.
So okay, sorry. Just say you have an issue, right?
yeah,
Like,
I've got many.
okay.
but go on,
So I'm
which
just
one?
gonna say this. I don't want to really go into deep into this because I don't know enough about it. All I really know is Lou Ferrigno different documentaries.
Yeah.
A lot of paedophiles are people who have been sexually molested when they were kids.
Okay. Yeah.
Are they bad people for being paedophiles?
There's a really interesting documentary that Channel 4 did about a paedophile that came out, and this is slightly different, but it came out and said, "I'm admitting the fact that I'm a paedophile. It scares me. I want to get help. Does that make him a better person?" It's also like kind of into this. If you act on these impulses, then yes.
But
Which, because your point which you're relating to, which point that you're relating to is the fact that Harvey Weinstein is saying he's a sex addict. He acted on those impulses, which is the problem.
But
that
if
you've
it is a
got.
mental illness
Because-
and
no,
he
no,
can't
no.
control it, then maybe it is something.
can you? I just point out, guys. None of this fucking matters.
No.
We're all just
Yeah.
tetrahedras fighting through
Floating around in
space.
space.
But it
And
is-
anyway,
And, like, we're
Elon
not even
Musk.
ourselves.
Elon Musk is gonna create a space station on Mars in 10 years' time anyway.
Oh, shit.
So none of
Yeah.
it matters anyway. Let's be
So we're all
honest.
going to be living in Mars with different problems.
So this is my rendition of things to do when you're drunk and bored. Mostly drunk. Because I went online and actually Googled this. And there are articles of, like, thousands and thousands of articles of what to do when you're drunk.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 live from 45.
It's that special time of the podcast again. And as you all know, we are drinking today. I'm sure you can probably tell. We are now about to
I'm
do
not
a
drinking.
shot.
You're drinking.
And we challenge everyone at home to do a shot with us, no matter where you are, no matter what time in the day it is, no matter what day in the week.
Even if it's a Monday, but be careful because as it's a shot, you may get autism.
Yeah, well, yes.
Vaccines lead to
Like-
autism. Vaccines lead to autism.
If you don't get that joke,
We
you
are
don't
doing
do
a
that.
shot of vaccine,
but
by the
you
way.
know what? The paper got it the wrong way round. Autism leads to vaccines.
All right,
Okay, cheers, guys.
Ching,
Salute.
ching. Wait, are we allowed to say ching ching? Is that not racist?
Insert chicken noise.
Woo!
Jesus Christ.
Oh my
Back-
god, fuck my own.
Back to the podcast.
Podcast. Woo.
So Elon Musk says that we can get to Mars in 10 years' time. What do you guys think about that as a concept, first of all?
So do you mean in the sense that, like,
Live
the
on
average
Can I
person
just
could
ask
get...
a really important question? What kind of job am I doing at this point? Because if I'm going to Mars, I must have like really upgraded my skill set.
No,
before
no,
going.
generally, James, you can still be a convicted rapist paedophile.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
And
yeah.
you'll
I was
still get
very
them,
worried
mate.
about
Yeah,
that,
because we need them there.
Yeah, it's true.
It kind of reminds me in
Who else
you know,
is
the
gonna make
days of the
films?
British Empire when they used to export convicts to Australia, and then through them colonising Australia.
Oh, so
became-
actually, Mars
Is this-
Mars is just the way we're going to send our criminals. I
in
like
fact,
that,
we're going to
yeah.
export
Prison
all our
planet.
criminals to Mars.
And nuclear waste.
Criminals on Mars.
We got super powered criminals on Mars with our
Let's get-
nuclear
Oh
Oh
waste.
my
shit! Are
God.
we creating Super? Are we creating Zod? Is that what's
Yeah.
happening?
No, but
is it the Phantom
seriously-
Zone?
So-
Guys, let's be serious
I'm-
for a
like,
minute.
Go on, Chris.
I'm assuming... I don't fully understand the science in this space elevator.
I don't
What is this
understand
space?
anything.
Is
No,
it a
no, no, no,
direct
so the
from Earth to Mars,
No,
or
so
is it just
Elon
space?
Musk has said that we can live on Mars in 10 years' time.
Okay.
He's also come up with a theory of something called... No, he didn't come up with a theory of it. Of a thing called the space elevator.
Okay.
Now, that's really interesting to me because the space elevator has been a thing for a long time.
Yeah.
And essentially, the science behind it is... I'm going to start the basics for everyone. Gravity is highest, closest to the center of the Earth for
Yeah.
people who live on Earth. So
I'm
the
lost
closer you
already.
are to the surface, the higher the gravity. So the further away you get, the lower the gravity.
So, for example, if we're past the ozone layer, the gravity
It's
isn't as
lower.
strong. Yeah.
it's not as strong. So say, for instance, I shoot a rocket. The closer the rocket is to the Earth, the higher the gravity, the further away it gets lower. So if I'm already at the top of the ozone layer, as Chris said, and I shoot the rocket from there, the amount of energy I need to release it from the atmosphere is really low compared to at the surface. Yeah?
Okay.
So there's a thing called the space elevator theory, and that is you create an elevator, you put the rocket in the elevator, and that elevator goes all the way up into space, and then you shoot your rocket from there. So very little energy.
Okay,
Yeah.
look, so it's like building a ladder to the stars.
That's
So,
all it is. It's
like-
a ladder going up from there, and you shoot a rocket from the
Here's
ladder.
something that I believe could potentially be a plot hole in the whole thing is, so the Earth is constantly rotating.
Yeah.
How would the space elevator remain erect without, like, breaking?
Correct.
Or
So as someone who's remained erect for a
I know
long
the,
time,
answer-
James can answer this
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah, I've got to answer this. Have you ever read a book called Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory or Charlie and Chocolate Factory? He has a magical.
he came up with
elevator.
this theory, didn't he?
The glass
Yeah,
elevator.
yeah.
And in fact, he broke the glass ceiling. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, girls. Woo! Yeah, so basically, you just build this elevator. You just build it. It's already there. You get. In fact, I'm sorry.
You build it, but it's already there.
I'm really sorry.
That's what Elon Musk said. You build it, but it's already there.
If you
Yeah,
build, if you build
we're
it,
gonna
mate-
make space great again.
Can you imagine that? Elon Musk goes, well, have you seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Elon Musk said, "It's all right. The Martians will pay for it. If you build it, they will come."
Yeah.
So basically, all you have to do is get these little orange people called Donald Trump, and they will just make it for you. Sorry,
Donald
Oompa Loompas. I got very confused.
Yeah, no, but they look similar. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
No, so the thing is, right, I believe we have the material to create it.
We have the technology.
and that is carbon fiber.
Okay.
Yeah.
So carbon fiber is very expensive and takes a long time to create. So you essentially is, as Chris said, it's just an elevator. It's just an elevator that goes up outside of the stratosphere, and that's above the ozone layer. And you need a material that's really strong because obviously the longer you build something, the more energy that is applied to it as your planet's rotating. So carbon fiber now can be created en masse because we have come up with the 3D printer. So that solves a lot of the issues for it. But Elon Musk is skitting off a lot of the big details, as in it will cost trillions and trillions trillions of pounds.
But I
not
believe
even
he
dollars,
has
pounds. Yeah, but
and will. In 10
but
years.
Elon Musk doesn't pay for it.
Who pays for it?
The company pays for it. It's not just him. You know what I mean?
And the like government might give some money. I
Yeah,
guess.
no, yeah.
Also, if for the viewers at home, I will fucking wish you were watching this right now because watching Ricky explain things drunk is fucking
I'm
incredible.
fucking wasted.
His hands are going so.
Ricky,
like,
if you could go to Mars, would you do it?
As in, like, I can survive.
Like, as
no,
in
no,
this-
just go to
maybe.
die.
Okay, you want to part of the first people.
See,
to,
drunk Ricky's
you-
not that stupid.
you were part of the first people to colonize Mars, along with the other criminals.
Wait, so we're talking about... I don't like Aussies, man. I don't like the Aussies. So wait, I go to Mars and I just jizz onto the surface.
Repopulate.
I just jizz onto the Curiosity rover.
I'm sorry for those at home. I actually just took a spit take. That actually just happened. That was horrible. Jesus Christ.
Honestly, so I don't know if the listeners know, but I study.
Call back.
I study Mars. And
study
even as
Mars?
someone who studies the surface of Mars, I would not want to go there because I'm scared.
And Ricky really doesn't like the colour.
Because, like, how would you grow potatoes on Mars, Ricky?
Shits on my face.
Me personally.
Yeah. You
Well,
shit. No, sorry, I didn't know we were recording.
But Ricky, what are we gonna do? Because don't know if you know this, we've lost a person on Mars. Our good friend Matt Damon is still.
Wait, did he come back?
Wasn't
No,
he
he's
with
still
Harambe up there?
I think that's the
No, he is from Harambe.
Yeah.
I've come back from that.
It turns out Harambe was just a little baseball, not a football.
Whoa,
Cole
Played
Wilson.
by Jim Carrey.
But I don't. So Elon Musk, he has great ideas about it. So he said 10 years down we'll be able to populate Mars. I don't agree with it just from the scientific perspective. So drunk. The scientific perspective, because I don't think it's plausible. But I'm not up with all the science.
But also, like, hasn't Elon Musk tried to build this, like, monorail? I'm using a very small term here. To make travel from California to San Francisco, which usually takes 6 hours, 35 minutes, in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And everyone's like, oh, this is incredible, it's gonna be great. It's basically like just shooting air, like a capsule with air, like through like a tunnel. And Richard Branson's just given a lot of money to it. So people are like, okay, we're actually getting somewhere. Although this is the Richard Branson that also wants to create space travel that we're not there yet.
And Richard Branson also looks like the guy who does Deal or No Deal. So
Noel Edmonds slash Tintin slash
Yeah,
son of a
exactly.
bitch, because he's such a fucking prick. I hate Branson, man.
Why?
I'm glad that he's on and got
Why?
destroyed. 'cause
He's
a
only
piece of
killed
shit.
numerous people from his failed spacecraft attempts.
Yeah, and the
Personally, he killed them.
yeah.
Branson, don't worry, the fine is like, no, let me do it.
The spacecrafts went fine. He just murdered them afterwards.
Yeah, but no, it's
No
before,
evidence.
before they even got the spacecraft, he just puts a pillow over their face.
This is not gonna go well for you.
Yeah, no, I just don't like him. Plus, like, what's the banker ever done to you, fucking Branson? Leave it out, Edmonds.
But you said he supplied some money to.
Yes, he was giving some money to the to this Elon Musk.
But what's that
capsule
got
thing.
to do with the spacecraft?
In the sense that you're kind of saying that there are a lot of money that's going to go towards it.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like won't actually yield any results. He's trying to do something on Earth that is very complicated, and the science isn't there either necessarily.
Yeah.
The experts saying it's just not possible, and he's getting more and more funding. And actually, he's not anything to do with putting any money towards this like space pushy thing. So
I agree with the fact that Elon Musk is great. I think he's a great guy.
I'm not saying that.
Because no, I think he is, because he doesn't provide the science behind things, but unfortunately, even in scientific research, you need money from the public. And how do you get money from the public? You make your scientific research public. You make everyone know about what you're doing. So he says, in 10 years' time, we're going to go to Mars, right? It doesn't need to be plausible. As long as people are on board with it, you know, then they're going to stay interested. And then when you say in 10 years' time, actually, it's going to take another 5 years' time, people are like, all right, we can wait another 5 years' time.
No, and the thing's
But if right now, if I said to you, James, it's going to take 100 years' time, you're like,
Yeah.
no, fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I say it's going to be 10 years and then in 10 years' time, it's going to be
But
another
also-
10 years, you're willing to follow that.
no one's going to remember that either. In 10 years' time, no one's going to go, oh, Elon Musk said 10 years ago we'd be in fucking space.
I feel like
Yeah,
once they listen to
exactly.
Live from 45 podcast, they will remember.
Oh, they'll
Exactly.
always remember. But it's like you're talking about, Chris, these trends. That Elon Musk is a trend. He just kind of
Trends
keeps
come
up
and go
with-
so fast. They're so fickle, and they
Guys,
come
can
into
I-
existence and just fade away like.
Can I
the
just tell you
flicker of
something,
a
guys,
light.
quickly, though? So, you know, I work in the space industry,
You work in space, yeah?
and Elon Musk is like right up there.
in space.
With you.
He's like really high up in the company, and
Do you have to suck his dick?
he
Yeah.
wouldn't let me suck his dick.
Did you give him a massage?
I said to him, I want a job. Can I suck your dick? And he went, no, don't worry about it. You got the right, you got all the
But you
things
tried.
I need.
Also,
And I said, no, please, just quick.
Elon Musk has a
quick."
bionic dick. I don't know if you know this. He
No,
doesn't- he sucks
but
it,
I
it
do.
Sucks
Obviously,
itself. No,
I
it
can
sucks
say-
itself.
I know that now, obviously, after ripping off his trousers and seeing it. It looked like the alien out of Alien.
So
Looked like the alien out of E.T.
but, going back to trends, Chris, because obviously this is something you deal with, I guess, day to day, like trends. How long do trends last?
Honestly, trends last no longer than a day on social media.
Oh, really?
Like a couple of hours, maybe like 8 hours is the longest the trend would last usually. Like
That's
trends
crazy.
appear within the day and then they literally go and die out.
So does this be Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or just kind of? are there
I'd
different
say the
ones?
main two at the moment are Twitter and Facebook. Like Instagram, people don't go there for trends because they don't have like a feed for trends.
Okay, that
But
makes sense.
Twitter started it and they were incredibly like on ball with it, and then Facebook tried to replicate what they do. But actually, Facebook do it a little bit better now because they segment their trends based on the specific industries. So they have just a trend for science and industry, entertainment, music, which is actually quite clever.
So can I ask a question?
Okay.
As a person who works in science, I'm really terrible. I'm not saying this isn't related. As a person who works in science, I'm also very terrible at working in social media, but it's not related. People
Yeah.
working in science are very good at it. But do you guys feel like that the science that is being worked on now has to be delivered to the public? Because I work on stuff and I'm really bad at social media, so I wouldn't tell you what I'm doing. But do you think I should have to relay that information to the public?
I think there's definitely a gap in the like, for example, if you made open to the public exactly what you're doing, there might be a very niche audience who are really interested in what you do
Yeah.
and really engage and really want to learn about it. And it could only be a couple of thousand of people.
Yeah.
And that's enough to really take off something and grow into something really big.
But the thing is, nowadays, the way that things seem to work is you have to have a public figure, as in I have to be one. I'm saying one as in anyone who works in that industry as someone who researches has to have a public domain.
Yeah.
So I should have a Twitter that tweets, this is what I'm working on today. I'm looking at rivers on Mars and this is what I've discovered
I
in
guess-
order to get further funding. Do you think that's right? That's how
not
it should work?
I mean, go on, Chris. You sure? Then.
I was going to say, yeah, absolutely. Like, if rather than you going on that Twitter account as multiple people, if you were just you're building a relationship with those people.
Yeah.
And when you tweet, no matter what it is, they already know who you are. And if you've offered them value, they know it's coming from you. So there's a relationship built there.
But do you not think that's a waste of time to the person who's doing the research?
It's only a waste of time unless there's nothing good that comes from it. But say, for example, if through doing that, next time you go to present for funding and you use that as a pulling point, like, actually, you know what? I have 10,000 followers on Twitter who are highly engaged with what I do. You can use that to get more funding.
Especially in a society where the funding is very much governmental and therefore from the public, should it not be their right to dictate what should be funded?
Yeah, completely. I guess the problem I can see with that is that if you're trying to get funding, you might try and like kind of lead the public in a certain way, and say you're going to reward them with certain things they're not going to get. So like you're funding like Rivers on Mars, like obviously that's very research based. But what if you were kind of trying to present a cure for something? Then you're going to try and make people like, you're going to try and make them think you're getting close to it, and you might not be, but you need that funding, so you need to get them to kind of relate to you.
That's very true. That's very true. I mean, for instance, have you guys heard about CRISPR? So
no, what's this?
If any listeners haven't heard about it, CRISPR is spelled CRISPR.
Oh, so not like whisper.
No,
CRISPR.
So Google it if you guys haven't heard of it. This is as far as I understand it as a scientist, but I'm not working in biology or genetic research or anything like that. But it's essentially the ability to manipulate DNA.
Manipulate the DAA.
Oh, we've reached that point of the fucking podcast. We can't even say DNA anymore.
It's the ability to manipulate the DVA.
Yeah, DVA, that's it, yeah.
The AVG. Yeah, that's it. The orcs. Also, I'm sorry, just for the people at home, Ricky, like when Ricky's talking now, he's trying so hard to get his words out. Yeah. You can see he's so beautiful.
Okay, it's a manipulative. No, Ricky, go
my
wee.
Pussy so wet, my pussy so wet, my pussy so wet, my pussy so wet. Don't touch my pussy, don't touch my pussy. Even though it's so wet, don't touch it, it's wet, because you might hurt yourself.
Don't you need to go wee, Ricky?
Yeah,
Ricky,
I really
can you
need a wee.
Can you not bring our like house cat into this? It's very disrespectful. It's been outside in the rain.
Like, I know,
it's Manchester. It rains. We know.
So I said, don't step on it.
Yeah, don't, like, but they've got a stroker. Jesus Christ.
Well,
she's a fucking
what
person.
did you guys think? Why is that untoward? I was just saying, don't touch the pussy. It's wet.
Yeah.
You might get your hand.
No,
on
I'm
it.
just annoyed that you're telling the customers we have a cat. I don't want our landlord to.
Why
know.
would the customers?
Yeah,
The customers. You're all customers, even though you listen to this for free. We have no merchandise.
If you haven't subscribed to our premium membership,
Can you guys though, seriously, any guys at home, please type into Pornhub.com, Ricky be here, and see what turns up, and just let me know.
because I really don't know.
Because I really want my video to go.
don't
up
lie,
there.
you know what comes up.
Yeah,
Literally,
yeah,
go
my
on.
dick.
Pictures
So-
of you.
It's that time of the podcast. It's time for a little shout out tequila.
Why
Oh,
did the Mexican push his wife up the cliff?
tequila?
Okay, right, we're
Alright.
gonna do this.
It
Three,
was actually for the insurance money.
Salute.
2. Eat literally like nachos.
3, 2, 1.
Cheers.
Drink, everybody.
Clink. Ooh.
Oh, Bobby. Can you guys
Oh
join
my
in
God,
this
that's
time?
fucking
3,
horrible.
2, 1. My pussy's so wet. My pussy's
that's
so
horrible.
wet. My pussy's so wet.
Oh, it
My
tastes
pussy's
weird.
so wet.
Why
My
does it
pussy's
smell
so
odd?
wet. My pussy- So CRISPR, right, is a type of DNA analysis type thing,
Okay.
which can change your DNA when you are an embryo.
Say what?
So if you're
So it's too late for me already. You're saying.
yeah. Because I know you wanted that third
really
dick,
fair, that.
Chris.
I know.
But mate, 2's enough.
I'm sorry, but like dicks on your elbows. What could you achieve?
But mate, you
What
put one in
couldn't
both
you
my
achieve?
ears. I love it. You know what I mean?
So what kind of things could this crisping glover do? What?
Well, the issue really is that the news portrayed it doing a lot more than it can do.
Okay.
So they said, you want the perfect baby? You want a little black baby called B.A. Baracus?
Oh my God, that's all
But
I
it
want.
also has the fingers of E.T.
But it can't get
You
on
want
a plane.
Mr. E.T. squared? Well, then come down to CRISPR.
You want Mr. BT?
I love that the like baby's already got a name as an embryo. Like,
Yeah.
the DNA alters its name.
And also,
No,
if
but that's
you
the
know
thing. The
this-
media made it sound like it wasn't like that.
I mean, and, like he's actually got a mohawk, a beard,
Yeah.
and little weird fingers.
So the BBC made a paper basically that sounded like, you have cancer, well, we can cure it, which is not true. The Guardian released a paper basically saying, if you have lung cancer, we can remove it. That's not true either.
Why did they release these papers?
Because
It's more exciting.
yeah, it's more exciting than saying 70% of embryos have a higher likelihood of surviving and not having cancer than 50%.
So you're basically saying it's better to lie because it will sell more copies.
Well, that's
of
what
newspapers.
the media does. But and essentially, CRISPR, what it is, if for listeners out there, because I know you guys know what it is,
Yeah.
but for listeners out there who don't know what it is, it's the replacement of DNA through a bacterium when you are an embryo to remove the likelihood of having a certain disease. So say you have DNA that makes you likely to get cancer. What they do is they put in a type of bacteria when you are an embryo, and it removes that DNA and replaces it with another. That's a very, very, very
Has
simple
this actually happened
applied.
though? Has there been, say, like one of these embryos where they've been fully
many,
born and 30 years
many.
into the future?
I
Have
guess-
they?
No. So not a future.
Yeah.
They've seen that the DNA reproduces itself. So DNA reproduces itself when you're an embryo. So your cells divide.
Yeah.
And what it does, it takes on the repaired cell that says, don't take on the cancerous version of yourself.
Okay.
Take on the one that's not going to get
So I guess
cancer.
a personal question. I like.
But so can I just say,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
only 70%.
Yeah.
So not 50% is normal. If your mum has a likelihood of getting cancer and your dad doesn't, you have a 50% chance of not getting cancer. Yeah, because your dad and your mum splits the cells. But if they did this replacement, so your mum has been replaced with the one that has the likelihood of not getting cancer, it's only 70% still.
But that's still 20 more percent.
Yeah, it's 30%.
No,
Yeah.
50, 60. That's,
30% likelihood not to get cancer.
yeah. But
Even though
like
it
a
should be
20%
100% not
increase
to.
of the,
It's not like that because cells don't divide how you want them to divide.
Yeah. What I was going to say was, ethically speaking, do you think it's like it's okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe it is. But the way the media represented the whole thing is they said, CRISPR, you can make the perfect child.
Designer babies.
You want
Yeah,
Michael
yeah, that's
Jackson to be
literally
your
what it
son.
would have called
You
it.
want a black kid who then wants to be white.
We can do it in DNA.
Or you want to be a black man that has sex with a white woman and have white children. That's kind of also what I said. Have you guys ever seen the film Gattaca?
No.
No.
Yeah.
What's going on?
also, people listeners at home, James related it to a film. Please drink. So Gattaca is basically...
That's the only time he's done that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They do it in the other podcast, it's fine. So Gattaca is called Gattaca because it's the DNA sequence, as far as I'm aware.
Oh, yeah.
Gattaca. That's all I can really
You
add.
make him sound like
I've
like
drank
a
2 bottles
detective
of
in
wine.
New York.
So,
Oh, Gattaca!
oh, Gattaca.
Sweet Gattaca, coming forth to carry me home.
Sweet Gattaca.
Also, it sounds like a cake. Good old cake.
If you can't sleep to that, listeners, there's nothing you will
Fuck
be able
you.
to sleep to.
If you can't sleep, come on down to Bobby Brown's Gattaca store.
Oh, we normally don't self-advertise, but please listen to our Bobby Brown thing.
Yeah.
Actually, subscribe.
So anyway, Gattaca is a film set in the future where people kind of the people who are like good in the world, like
The people who are good in the world.
the people
Good people.
the successful people who
Yeah.
are like astronauts and stuff,
Yeah.
are the people with the best DNA. So they relate everything that you do to your DNA. So say if like I scanned my DNA in and I had bad DNA, right? It's
What
pretty
classifies
Sorry.
bad DNA?
Yeah.
So you didn't have like what they saw as like the right gene.
Okay, so this
It's
is
all
standard
subjective,
thing.
like
Yeah,
intelligence,
yeah.
attractiveness.
Yeah, I think so. So like a
penis
guy,
size.
it's the whole idea. But the whole idea is that Jude Law, who's an astronaut,
No
ends
man
up-
likes Jude Law.
Do you appreciate the works of Jude Law? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he's alright.
Yeah, it's okay. He basically breaks his legs and is meant to be an astronaut. But Ethan Hawke, my main man,
Even Hawkins.
yeah, Ethan Hawkins,
Stephen Hawkins.
has like, he's like got shit DNA, but he
Yeah,
wants
well,
to
he's
be,
in a wheelchair.
Yeah, but he wants to be an astronaut.
Oh my god, this is like we're making our own
I'm trying
novel
so
or
hard
like
to keep
TV
us on
series here
track.
about a guy called
Guys,
Evan
can-
Hawkins.
Can I just point out, I've had 2 bottles of wine.
Can I just say, go
know, I'm
see
pretty drunk
Gattaca?
right now.
Like we're not going to talk about this anymore.
And
Just watch Gattaca,
James-
please.
James only had like a bottle and a half and 3 shots.
James has just started drinking.
So
three bowls.
can I just say James has never drank before, so this is the first
I'd never
time.
drink.
Can I just say,
How is it?
we
your
really need
first
to
time
sort
drinking?
out my compulsive lying.
Can we say that? Are we allowed?
I've heard a vicious rumor.
Ricky, that's nothing compared to your alcoholism.
I've heard no. Volcanism is only volcanism.
Falconrism.
Listeners at home,
Falcon, you mean my falconerism?
Yeah.
I just have a love for birds.
listeners at home, I've got a very important question. You can't answer this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you were to see someone in the street with a shirt, how many buttons would be too many buttons into it?
Right. Buck James. That's
Please.
the answer. Please comment Buck James to this podcast
Please do that.
because I'm going to tell you guys the story, right? I wear 3 buttons undone, right? That's not that many
too
on
much.
my shirt,
It's too much.
okay?
Depends.
And I said, James, have I got too many buttons under my shirt? And he
That's
said,
personally,
yes. He said,
personally.
he said, objectively,
Yeah.
yes. He said, objectively, yes, you're too many undone. And then I said to his girlfriend, Rashidne Benizne, which is the name, she's an African tribeswoman.
Stop taking the piss. I hear you laughing. Fuck you guys.
No,
Racist.
yeah, that's her name.
No,
And I said to her, do I have too many buttons undone on my shirt? And she said, no, Ricky, I don't think you have enough undone on your shirt. It's just a cultural difference.
What? It's culturally different that you have to. No, because I've said the same to Chris as well. There's too many. 3's too many. I can see your tits.
Sometimes I
I can
don't
see
do
your
any buttons,
titties.
I can see Jerome, our producer, shaking his head behind us.
No,
I can
he's,
see him
no, he's agreeing.
masturbating.
He's agreeing. He's saying, no, seriously, he has too many buttons undone.
Can I go ask you guys a question?
Why did we let Jerome sit
Let me
on
ask
this?
you a
This is-
fucking
Sorry, but like,
question.
fuck you, Jerome. Sorry, no, he was
I'm
doing
going to
something
ask you
to
guys
me.
a fucking question right
Okay,
now,
go.
Okay? I don't want to swear
All right.
because my mum listens to the podcast.
Okay. Fuck.
And she has ears, okay?
Okay.
So she can hear it.
All right. My mum has ears.
She's
All right.
got
big-
ears.
I don't want to show off.
Oh,
She has
yeah.
ears. And they both allow sound
Do you
to
know that?
percolate inside.
Through
God.
experience.
Yeah.
Expert.
Yeah, you
Right, come
guys
on.
stop it. She didn't say anything. I'm drunk. If you could do CRISPR and it had the ability to create a child that would be exactly how you wanted the child to be, would you do it?
But the thing is, does anyone want a child to be exactly how they want it to be?
Well, that's my question to you, Chris and James. If your child could be exactly how you'd want it to be,
Well, free.
would you do
free-
it?
free
I'm not
from
going to
dis-
ask you what it is.
No, free from disease. Yeah.
No, I'm not. No, not.
You
even
know
just
what?
free from
I get your
disease.
question. I'm
Which
gonna
is-
go with I would just do it naturally, as in let whatever happens happens. Because is there been any need for this until
If-
now?
Yeah, because surely,
Like, is there a
illness
desperate
part
need
of
for
life.
it? Yeah.
If there was a 100% guarantee that my child was not gonna have diseases, yeah, fuck, I'd do that. In
No,
a
but like
heartbeat,
when I
in a
met,
Well, it's
heartbeat.
not 100%.
No,
Yeah.
but if-
No, we're saying from
talking
CRISPR you could do that.
Oh, right.
Hypothetically, yeah, in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd
Yeah.
do that.
Really?
Because, yeah,
Like
100%.
you have a child and you know they're never gonna get cold. You
yeah,
would do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow. Because
Well,
like when, but for me, like
100% not gonna get a life-threatening illness.
no, okay, no, but that's then you have to rule out what is not. Like for me,
Well,
I met my
disease is not gonna
girlfriend.
kill
I met
them.
my girlfriend. She had AIDS, and I was willing to take that risk. You know what I mean? And that was part of the relationship. You know what I mean? So that's all part of learning.
I mean, you also learn that on the first date as well. It's a very intense thing to kind of
Well, she,
learn about.
yeah, it was essentially rape.
I mean, like what?
But she drove an Uber, so I
Yeah,
knew that was
exactly.
going to be the
But,
case.
like, have you ever had
And she was Romanian.
have you ever had any other weird experiences in your first dates? Like really weird odd ones. Any one person? I mean, I've had a few weird first dates. People talking about politics and shit too much, but
I know you don't want to even talk about it, but I know you have a weird
fuck.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris, you are acting like you didn't as well. Okay, I'm going to read the awkward one. Just tell us about it.
Okay,
man.
so like I've got one. No, it's not really awkward Tinder story. I met like a girl on Tinder. You know, as you do, talking to them, you send them a dick pic. Shit happens.
You swipe left.
Yeah.
They normally send me the dick
Yeah.
pics.
You swipe them.
Right, even.
Yeah, you swipe them, you meet them, you realise their mums are more interested, and you fuck them in the but I went on a date with this girl. And,
That's usually how it happens.
Yeah.
Let's all face
I went
it.
on a date with a girl. And,
I went on a date with their mum. And
Yeah.
and she was really nice, and now we're together. No, I went on a date with this girl, and we were kind of chatting. Everything was going okay, and she told me she had a rabbit, like a pet rabbit. Now, when she told me this,
that
honestly,
doesn't sound weird to me.
when she told me this, I kind of thought she might have been talking about a dildo. Honestly,
Oh, yeah, 'cause-
Oh,
For the
wait.
listeners out there,
Yeah.
there is a type of dildo called a rabbit. That's
I mean,
right.
if you don't
right?
know that, I'm surprised. But yeah, we've all seen Sex and the City. Come on, guys.
I haven't.
No, we haven't.
So
Well,
anyway,
you have.
Yeah. She's talking to me. She goes, "Yeah. So, do you want to come? Like, do you want to see Frank?" And I'm like, "This is fucking."
Oh my
weird.
god, she called it Frank.
I think so. I can't remember the exact name. It was like Frank or Hank or some shit like that.
Frank or Hank.
Yeah. It was very, very manly name. And I was like,
Like Hank is worse than Frank.
yeah, we were like flirting. Like, she's like, she said, "Do you want to come back and see it?" And I was like, "See what?" She was like,
It sounds like she's
What
talking
day,
about
what
a
day?
dick or something.
Yeah.
Like-
"This is what I thought she was talking about." A fucking
James,
dildo.
what date was this on?
The first date. yeah, the first date. So then I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I'll come back and see fucking Frank, whatever. I mean, even if it's a bald man in the corner, I'll fucking so we got back, we're just sitting around. It's just like, yeah, so this is Frank, this is the rabbit. It was just all a ploy to sleep with me. But I got to meet a rabbit, so that's cool.
So she actually had a rabbit.
Yeah.
Where? That's fucking sick.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was just a really weird way to bring it up. I was just,
No, but she had a rabbit.
yeah.
You sound annoyed about
I
that.
know, yeah.
Frank.
That's
I fucking
amazing.
love to meet a
Did
rabbit.
you feed it a carrot?
No, I stroked it though.
You stroked her
A
rabbit.
rabbit or a
So
puss?
weird.
Or the puss?
No, not the.
My pussy's so wet. My
No.
pussy's so wet. My pussy's so wet.
I'm
my
gonna
pussy-
feed it a carrot.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's not really an odd one, but it's interesting.
So this is the first time I've ever actually been drunk. I've been just slightly buzzed before, like I drank some moonshine. And it was like, oh, I'm dark again. We gotta go back in the light. Oh, okay, there I am. Hi, Hardy. And it's pretty awesome. I played some Pokemon and I Skyped with some friends. And I'm wearing my glasses.
I don't know if you guys heard. So there was a woman in the UK who had been on a Tinder date, and she basically got stuck in a window after
Yeah.
next
I've
to
heard about this.
next to a
Please,
bag
go on.
of her own poop. And
No,
so-
sorry, what?
yeah,
Ooh,
like
shit.
she got. So let me explain.
Yeah, go on.
So after a quick bite to eat on her Tinder date, she did what any normal couple would do. You know, either go back for a bit of Netflix and chill.
Yeah,
You know, like
to see
the,
their
the
rabbit.
new season of Stranger Things is coming out, so you know you just want to watch it with your Tinder date. And so they went back to Netflix and chill.
Yeah, go watch Netflix.
And eventually-
at his house.
At his house, yeah. And this woman needed to shit. So
I mean, it's natural,
As one
guys.
does.
Yeah, it
like you
needs
know,
to
it's all
happen.
normal. You know, it's fine.
It is.
So she went to the toilet and she made a massive shit.
As one does.
And
She pooped the situation, basically.
unluckily, the toilet wouldn't flush.
Ah.
So she did what any normal person would do in that situation, and she got a piece of toilet roll, wrapped the shit up
Oh,
around
Jesus.
it,
Okay.
and tried to throw it out of the window. The only thing she didn't
Oh,
expect
no.
is the fact that the window was so close to the neighbour's window, as in only like probably a couple of centimetres gap, to the point where there was no way the shit could fall down the window.
So it
Incredible.
landed on their
Windowsill.
conservatory window.
Well,
So-
no,
It landed on
they're
the
like
windowsill,
windows
of the
to
window
windows,
next
yeah,
to
yeah.
it, and the house. So it was essentially stuck between two
There's a
windows.
shit on their windowsill.
Yep,
That is so disgusting.
I know.
We've heard about Rock on Hard Place.
and I mean, I've got some quotes here from
Oh,
this. So
please read them out.
So she said to the guy, and this is a quote from him, I went for a poo in your toilet and it wouldn't flush. I don't know why it did this, but I panicked. And like she continues, I reached into the toilet bowl, wrapped it in tissue paper, and threw it out of the window. After telling him this, she thought, you know, being a gymnast, I can easily get into the window, pick it up, and put it down the toilet again.
Because this isn't the end of the story, guys.
So her aim was to grab it off the windowsill, put it in the toilet, and flush again.
Yeah.
Well,
No, so it was a massive shit. It wasn't a toilet problem.
Actually,
it was a big shit problem.
A bit of both.
I've jumped ahead here, actually. What he did is he did what any normal gentleman would do in this situation. He went, you know what? This girl who I've gone on a date with was throwing a shit out the window, so I'm going to go and pick it up and put it in the bin. But
so
this is when they realised...
Actually, he didn't.
Didn't he?
No, she did it.
Oh,
because she's the gymnast.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, she's the gymnast. So she.
No. This is where she went to the room to tell him about throwing the shit.
Yeah. No.
And he said, "Oh, it's okay. I'll go and get it."
Oh no.
But then they figured out it was stuck. She offered to get it because she's a gymnast.
Because she's the polite one. She's the one that threw it. So she goes to like reach down and get it, and she ends up stuck.
Yeah.
And there's photos. I mean, if you guys,
to the point where they have to call the fire brigade to actually break the glass and get her out of there.
Can I point out, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with this story. It sounds like
a normal
Romeo
day
and
to
Juliet
Ricky.
to me. I threw my shit out your window. Got stuck on the window ledge. Should I go get it? Baby, don't worry. I'll go get it. Oh, wait. I can't reach. Juliet, you should get it.
I mean,
I can't. No, I'm stuck out the window. Please phone the fire brigade.
I'm going to raise one point.
One point.
And just say that, like, surely if it's wrapped in toilet roll, you could just leave it there. Yeah,
mate, I wrapped loads of things in toilet roll. I shit outside all the time.
So he's the best, and like, obviously, you had to get rescued by firemen, and the reason this became such a trending thing is because the window that got broken, it had to get paid for. So the guy started a funding page to encourage money to pay for the broken window.
Wait, so she broke the window and she was trying to get out?
Well, the fireman broke it trying to rescue her.
Oh, yeah.
And in this funding page, he said that any money left over from what it costs to pay for the window, he was going to donate to a charity that provided flushing toilets to developing countries.
Oh, that's nice.
And the local firefighter charity that he has.
That's pretty good. That's really good.
And of course, from that was enough to go viral.
So everyone got viruses from this.
Yeah. I mean, so like when Chris is saying that was enough to go viral, what went viral was the fact there was a picture of a girl with her legs in the air, reaching down for a shit in between two windows.
She hadn't wiped.
What really annoys me about this story, and like, you know, I don't get annoyed easily, but we're just all tetrahedrons flying through space. Elon Musk has built a spacecraft.
I'm gonna can I just interject slightly? I'm gonna bring a special guest onto the show quickly. Can I just ask Jessica, who is sat here? She is sat here.
Oh, by the way, all the listeners, my girlfriend's been sat here this whole time.
Come here, Jess.
Hello.
If you had on your first date with Ricky,
Oh God.
right? If he just happened to come and take a shit and went, look, babe, I've made a mistake. I've kind of shit in your toilet and it's not flushing. What should we? I've kind of thrown it out the window, but it's landed weird. What would you do?
I would obviously want him to go climb after it. I think that's what anyone would
But
want. I think
like,
that's a romantic gesture.
I mean, he is
timeless
a
romantic
gymnast.
gesture.
He is
He
used
is.
to this kind of thing.
Can I just point out, I did do massive shit in the toilet. It didn't flush, and I said, Jess, can you come here? Look how massive my shit is.
Could I just point out, this story is actually Ricky. This actually happened to him.
No, I shat in the toilet.
We broke the internet.
I did a massive shit in the toilet, and I said, Jess, come look at this. It won't flush. And she was like,
Did she flush
"My
there?
man." She said, my man.
I mean, I thought, in fact, now, normally we'd have FAQs, but we're going to change it up a little bit. And Chris has a very interesting game for us. Chris, take it away.
So I'm assuming you listeners at home have all played the game Shag, Marry, Kill.
Oh, I'm aware of it.
Okay, so instead of the usual FAQs that we do tonight, we're going to play a game of Shag, Marry, Kill.
Do you want to play a game?
Do you want to play a game?
No, but do you?
Yeah, that's exactly how it goes.
Do you want to build a game?
Okay, so now we just need to come up with 3 people.
Listeners at home, Shag, Marry, Kill, James, Chris, Ricky.
Well, we've got a pig.
And if you don't shag all of us, then
unsubscribe.
You know what? Unsubscribe. You know what? Don't listen ever again.
I'd kill James.
Kill Ricky. kill Chris.
And that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening tonight. It's been the first Drunken podcast of the season, and it has been
the last.
Well, it's been
eye-opening,
I don't know quite how
maybe?
to describe it, but
Yeah.
Things
have happened. I mean,
we
Ricky's
were-
licking his
we
mind.
we drunk some stuff.
I mean, I think me and Chris
you
got
know,
sober during that.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest with you guys,
I kind of need to go wee, but you know.
Yeah,
we're gonna be. It's gonna go Nintendo Wii.
Yeah.
Nintendo Wii.
I don't
Ooh,
wanna
I
lie to
love
the
a
listeners at home.
Nintendo.
There were genuinely parts where I forgot what we were talking about.
I'm not gonna remember any of this.
Yeah,
That's good.
but I feel like we discussed a lot of important things about 2017. We only just said 2017.
As in,
And can we also point out we didn't talk about Donald Trump or anything like that because it's so obvious to talk about, and we don't have any opinion on it. It's just as in it is what it is.
is he the mayor of Canada?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
We have strong
The
opinions.
Archbishop of
obviously.
Canterbury.
I think I read a letter about
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
but we don't want to say what our opinions are.
I mean,
because-
I also think that like if you guys have any ideas in the comments, you know where they are. Just for next Drunken podcast, give us a shout. Let us know what you want to hear. Like we picked these topics because we thought you'd like find them interesting, and we hope you did. We got really pissed. We had lots of fun doing it. I think Ricky might be asleep right now. I'm not really sure what's happening, but.
I'm rubbing my nose against the microphone.
Do you know what? If you've never,
That's not your nose, Ricky.
if it's small enough. If you've never listened to us before, then I hope you've enjoyed this because it's a fucking eye opener.
Whoopie doopie doop doop.
As we say on this podcast,
As we always say, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you very much.
And we hope you had a good 2017.
It's
we love
been
you
amazing. Thank you very much. It's been me, Chris.
And me, James.
all. And me, Ricky.
Adios,
Goodbye,
motherfucker.
motherfucker.